Hi friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. We hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of our hearts for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show, and today you guys are on episode 142, Men. It's a pretty open topic, isn't it? And I bet you think we're going to be a bunch of women bitching about men. But you'd be wrong. If you guys know us, you know that we actually really love and cherish men. And we just thought the last couple episodes, we could take some time and talk about their struggles and what they've been going through and just some things that we see and playing some devil's advocate here to kind of shed some light on some of the shit they're struggling with and things that we as women sometimes unfortunately overlook, and awareness on where we're at, what we're doing, and how we can be better and support our men out there. But before we get into this fire episode, you guys, I just want to remind you, if you are listening on Spotify or Rumble, no, I said that wrong, YouTube and Rumble, make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Comment for engagement. It helps us break out of the censor bars that we're always in here and jails. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, you can also turn on notifications. And Apple, you can even leave us a review if you're feeling sassy. And then also on social media, guys, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at the Be Real Babe podcast. We are just ending season 6 here in a couple more episodes and quickly getting ready for ending season 5, getting ready for season 6 here in the fall. So if you are interested on being on a show or talking to us or any topics you would like us to share, make sure you reach out to us on Instagram. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. Okay, that's all I have to say. I am done my spiel. Let's get on to this episode. All right, babes, let's get on to the show. And in studio with me today is my beautiful co-host, Hales. Hey, babe, how's it doing? Oh, you're showing the pipes?
Yeah, right?
Yes.
No, I'm
like
showing
it.
my tan because I look really pale under this light,
queen.
but my shoulders are nice and dark, so I'm just trying to show.
Don't you love
I go
that
outside. I'm not this white
I
and
go
pasty.
outside.
Please don't mistake. I even wore white
Don't worry,
for
guys,
this
I
too.
will
I'm like,
learn.
come on, guys. Tan, okay? Tan.
I promise to learn how to edit color for next season for us. So
No,
when
it's
we're
just
going
the lighting.
through the
I'm in my
winter.
basement with this ring light, this weird, disgusting overhead light. I even have this thing open just in case, but
just in case, getting all the
worries.
lighting. I feel that. I feel like I finally got my summer tan, and it's just at the beginning, so it feels good.
It's just July,
my first burn.
so we've got some tanning to do yet. Get up there.
Yes, I know. It feels good. I know. And it's kind of like we talked on last episode. It's interesting how when you look at things differently now, it's like outside of Canada Day, because the wind burn, you didn't notice it at all.
Oh,
but now it's
dangerous.
2 or 3 hours and I'm like, ooh, I need to get out. But because we've had several days with those couple hours and it's got that nice overall tan. And I just like doing it progressively.
I have a girlfriend who went out floating today for 5 hours, and she sent us a snap, and she even said it herself, lobster.
Yes, right? You have to be careful. The shit. And I hate to be this person, but people wearing sunscreen or not, everyone's getting burnt when you're going out there in more than
I don't wear sunscreen anymore.
Me neither. Nope. I don't at all.
I've made my own, so if we're going to be out for a long time, then I slather us all up. But honestly, we just learned to limit it. You got to just you take your moments. You shade, sun, shade, sun.
Exactly.
It's just
respect it.
And that's why
it's such a crazy
I've got all this vitamin D creation going on here.
Do you see this beautiful coloring that I have? It's like you can no longer see the road maps and the white,
right? You can't see my veins and shit.
Yes,
awesome.
it's my favorite time. It's the most wonderful time of the year. People say it's Christmas.
I
I
hate
say
to
fuck
say
that
it.
when you don't see my veins.
The one thing that I will always agree with is it's a known fact. You feel better with a tan. I feel better
100%.
always, every
100%.
single time with a tan. You just feel better.
Yeah. You
But
just look
that's
at
also
yourself in the
because
mirror and
you're
you're like,
absorbing all
dang.
that vitamin D and it's making you feel good.
Yes. And usually the activities that you're doing are either relaxing or fun's with friends. And it's like all around positive.
Around the
like,
water, usually.
Oh, yeah. Around the water, around the lake, the
At a
beach.
beach.
Like, I feel so
I love it.
Yes. Me too. Anyways, guys, so we're talking about men. Next episode, we talk about women. And this isn't going to be like some feminist rant and hating on men
We
at
love
all.
men.
It's not. We
love
love
me
men.
some
I think
men.
you guys love me some men. And apparently that's a hot topic right now to be, in love with straight men. But, that's fine.
Because they're the devil.
You're allowed your opinion. We're allowed ours. They are the devil.
Straight
and
white
so
men.
we just thought, we would round out this season with talking about, just some things that we've noticed and things that we think about when it comes to men, and maybe just kind of put a different spin and perspective from a woman's point of view. Kind of like not anti-feminist, but kind of like we need to dial
devil's
back
advocate
the new
type
age.
thing. Yeah, like you got to see it from both sides and kind of have a fuller, more complete picture of what you're looking at, which
100%.
a lot of you can giggle, and I'm sure there will be. Yes, this is coming from two women, but that does not mean we're not allowed to have our opinions on it. So just you don't want to listen.
We don't identify as
listen.
men. Just kidding.
Yeah,
don't listen. No, and
it's not like we don't both have big dicks, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Like, cool.
BDE.
But it's that's what this show is turning into now. Sex sells. So no. But I just think for me, it's like I've sat back personally. I have, brothers. I have guy friends.
So
I think
do I.
all of us on the show have, this is a good girl group for sure. But we have always leaned to having more male friends for certain reasons. So I think we kind of see things a little bit differently. But then also fully understanding.
Yeah.
Feministic movements from the past that got us to where we are today, where we feel like it is more equal than it ever has been. And we got to check some things sometimes, guys, because I think we get in a really bad habit of kind of putting our blinders on and just thinking like, oh, this only happens to me.
Yeah.
But it
doesn't.
And there's a lot of struggles that go on for
the
men,
evolution of their being, their character, their I don't even know how to like put it, but just their roles, their presentation, their just everything that like their values, what men are supposed to value versus what they actually value and stuff like that. Like the evolution is quite expansive. Like from what we'll say like the 1900 to now, at least like every decade there's a solid flip over of what they're expected to be and what they're expected to do. And I feel like it's stuck to a general bubble for a while of the provider, but the last little while here we have gone that, and we're not even on the same map. We're like 10 maps over.
Everywhere, absolutely. And I think that's that never gets recognized enough, where it does for women in a sense where, and again, when we say stuff and we're going to say stuff on the show, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to women. That doesn't discredit
and we'll get into that next episode, trust.
And we'll get into that next episode. But yeah, exactly. But this is like about just, again, like we said, playing the devil's advocate and looking at both sides and trying to have some compassion and understanding and come in the middle. That like, I don't know. I kind of learned through this, especially my last relationship, that things are not always as I think. So I would think that, let's say Grant was being a certain way, and in my head I had this story, and then I talked to him. He's like, "That's not it at all." I'm like, "Oh, for fuck!"
I was just thinking we should go through a list of things that we have learned about men in our years, because the first one I would put is men are so simple. They do not see things as emotionally as women do. It is very black and white, where we're like, he's probably thinking this, and oh my god, but what if he's thinking this? Like, oh my fucking god, how dare he think that? Like, we are just all over the place. Where they're like
a little bit.
Yeah,
I was thinking about bread and how I was gonna
like
make it.
They're just so they're very simple black and white creatures. So
Yes, we don't need to make it as complicated, right? And so this is where I think communication comes in really key, because I created for the first couple years for sure all these stories in my head, but
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, "Hey, communicate, you fuck, because that's probably not right." And then I would like try to find ways to deliver and be like, "Okay, my crazy self is narrating this story here. Can you help me like get off this pathway and like redirect this path instead of me just sitting in it?" And then all of a sudden it's
Creating
becoming
an
the
issue
truth,
that
and
it
I
isn't.
can reading that it isn't, right? And so, like it took time to learn how to say it without, offending your spouse too, right? Because you don't want to be like, "You're giving me reason, this is all
Yeah,
in my head, this is all
it
past
is.
shit." But
It
to
also
move
takes a
forward, I
lot
got
of
to get it out.
awareness to recognize that you're doing that.
100%.
And all that being said,
Exactly.
that does not mean that men are not emotional and complex in
No,
other ways, because that is
everyone's just
one thing
different.
that we are going to talk about that is completely glossed
Hmm.
over, is a big topic. And last month's thing was mental health, men's mental health
For
month.
men.
Men's mental
Yes.
health is seriously, like, we should be
we
ashamed
d-
that we
we
have
should,
turned
and we did
our
talk about
men
that.
and boys into just, they're not allowed to feel any sort of feeling other
Mhm.
than anger, apparently, and pride and all the good ones, but you're not allowed
Mhm.
to feel sad, you're not allowed to feel upset or
Mhm.
frustrated or
Mhm.
cry, heaven forbid.
Or
Like,
vulnerable.
it used to be like that. I'd say nowadays, I mean, it jumps in
There's
another
a lot more
direction where
snowflakes.
I'm going to be like complete opposite here. And yeah, like there's a bunch of
Man
sissies
the
out
fuck
there
up.
now. And
Yes,
I'd hate
soy
to be
boys.
that girl,
Yes.
but I like my manly.
Alpha.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I'm also not completely delusional to think that they do not feel upset and cry if someone close to them
Yes.
passes away, or something is very frustrating that they've been working towards that they just cannot grasp,
Mhm.
or
Yes.
anything.
Something sad
Sometimes you just need
happens.
a freaking cry and it's
Frustration
fine.
cry. Oh
Yeah,
my
or
god.
a
They're good. They're good.
frustration punching bag session. Who the hell knows? But
Yes.
emotional
Well, it's
outbursts
emotional.
and emotional,
Yes. Release.
yeah, and
Yeah.
heights are not
And that's
limited
what
to
I
women.
think. No, and I think that is the biggest downfall. And let's just go right into it, because we don't really have a set way. These last couple episodes, we're just going with it.
Yeah,
So fucking whatever. But again, yeah, men's mental health. And I think the biggest reason is because I feel like we're constantly told, and yes, over the decades it has gotten better, and there has been some people that taken way too much advantage where they're turning into women. Anyways, that's not this episode. But where they weren't really taught how to channel those emotions, because instead it was like, "You're not
tough it
supposed to
up,
have those emotions,
man up.
tough it up, boys aren't supposed to feel that, man up." And it like, that is so fucking
Hmm.
incorrect. It's like, yeah, okay, the one thing that I like about like Jordan Peterson, and sometimes like, I don't say Andrew Tate, but kind of, but like Joe Rogan, all those guys, all those men that I personally respect, that I look up to, and same with like my spouse. It's like having the ability to be that super alpha, kick the shit out of anybody that fucks with your family type of person, but also knowing
But
how to control that energy
yeah,
and being able to channel it in a positive manner in other ways, when you can't, like, there is no need to actually physically defend
and
your
it's
family.
not
Do you know
just
what I'm
about
saying?
being
Like, I
in
think it's that
tune with your
balance.
hyper masculine, but also balanced with
Yes.
your feminine. Sorry, men,
Understanding the
but you
feminine.
have to
Yes.
balance
Yes.
your, like, you
Be a
can
little
be a
soft
hard ass
sometimes.
and you can be someone that
Hmm.
people look at like, I don't want to cross him, he's gonna fuck
Mm.
me up. But you also need to be someone
Yes.
that your daughter can look at and be
Hmm.
completely, like,
Soft and
yeah,
big teddy
that you
bear.
completely noodle out to, like she should
Yeah.
be able to wrap you
Yeah.
around her little finger, and you should be tender enough to
Yes.
like have, I
Your
just,
spouse too.
yeah, you can't be so rigid and hard to not,
Hmm.
like, it's a give and take. It's
Yeah.
very much a balance, and we're very out of balance these days.
Yes. Yes.
Incredibly
And I think
so.
it's because there is a lot of like, again, confusion, because all those like women that want to be women, that want to be, stay at home,
Very
not women, I'm not
feminine,
but
very
like very, like, let's just
traditional,
say in
very,
whatever that, yeah, and traditional, or, which unfortunately everyone struggles with these days. And that is one another thing that I want to talk about in the
which is
wound thing,
heightened
but
in
like,
population, or it's
yes,
high in popularity these days, is trying to get back to like our
yes,
OG roots of just
yes,
family farm, family feed yourself, all yourself,
yes.
self-sustainable stuff, right?
Keep to yourself and your farm because you're so busy. But going back to like why I think mental health is really on the rise for men. And also going back to this traditional part, when you look back, let's say even at our parents' generation or the parents before that, you're right, it was men that were providing and they were coming home and the women were taking care of that. But now the cost of living is so fucking outrageous
They
that
don't have a
everybody
choice.
has to contribute. Exactly. And then now all these men are looking around, and I see this, and I'm sorry that you guys feel this way. It's not your fault, because we're all feeling it. We are all feeling like we're fucking up financially, and it is not any individual. Yes, because we got our country to this place, there is some responsibility here, but like, I know for us personally, like,
We're all
we're
in the
not being
same boat.
stupid, and it's a struggle, right? And so but think about that for men that especially raised very traditional, that you were
The
supposed to take
financial
care,
burden.
the financial burden and how much everything is costing these days, with interest rates going through the roof, taxes, all that kind of stuff. Like, and then they're not allowed to talk about it or bring it up, because then there's, because this is what men do, is that they hold it because they don't want to put that on their wives and they don't want to put that on their spouses, because then if they can't do it, then that means that they failed you and they're maybe not much of a man,
Failed
and
themselves, yeah.
whatever stories. Like, if you don't think that your men are telling themselves fucking stories
the way
and
we
that
do.
we're not contributing in some ways like we do, that is complete fallacy. And I would urge and challenge everyone to be aware. Like, you want them to be aware of what they say and do around and how that affects you.
Yeah.
It's the same with men, and they will hold on to that thinking that they're not enough, and they don't have outlets, or we're not taught how to channel that anger, that frustration, and release it in a positive manner, artistically, at the gym, in sports, in whatever. It's going to come out in really weird manifestations,
I
in
feel like,
addictions, in porn addictions, and that kind of stuff.
a,
I think
a
that's
lot
my
of
opinion.
our newer generation, like ours, the ones under us, we, I don't know, like, raising a child right now, you get to go through all the methods that have been tried and true throughout the years, and we, I don't know, it started out very good, I feel like, where everyone was very in tune, everyone was very connected in the family, but the more that we've gone on and they've been trying to separate us, and we have been separating, parenting is it it was kind of harsh, like the cry it out and the whole, like, just let them tough it up, like they got to learn how to do it, they'll get through it. Like, there was a whole period of time, in my opinion, or I think anyways, where like it wasn't so much like, oh, I love you, this and that, like so close. It was just kind of, this is how we
Yes.
do it, I'm the parent, you're the
Mm-hmm.
kid, this is just the way
Yes.
life goes. Like, life is too
Yes.
chaotic to give into the
Have
like
all these
the
emotions.
extras of, yeah, like getting to enjoy raising your children,
Mm-hmm.
like going through
Mm-hmm.
wars, going through like Great Depression
Yes.
and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like now we're getting kind of back to where you see the gentle parenting, and you see that where we're
Mm-hmm.
allowing kids to, yeah, learn how to channel and express and like get out angry energy, and let them know that it is okay to be upset and it is okay to cry. You just have to get through it and like give them coping mechanisms and everything. I think that right now is something that I agree with going back to, but there's also a
Mm-hmm.
balance, because you don't want to like raise a bunch of wimpies to see babies
Oh,
or
like the
anything.
fucking participation trophies. So this
Yeah,
entitlement of
there's a
like,
limit,
I
there's a
should have this
balance.
now. Absolutely. And
First
I think
place to
that's what we
third place
always do,
trophies
right?
in soccer and every sports
Yeah.
you play as a kid is a very much a thing, and
Yes.
you should not get a ribbon for 10th, 12th, 20th place in like
No.
races and all that stupid shit.
No.
I'm sorry. You get a
No.
ribbon if you participated,
And you
you
get,
get the trophy if you
yes,
win, and
that's it. You don't
like,
get a trophy for
you don't, not
participating
everyone
because
needs an award, not everyone needs to be special, not everyone needs to be included in the winner's circle,
excuse
because
me.
that's not the way it works. And I hate to, like, it just
100%.
is what it is. Not everyone
Yes.
can
And it's,
win.
no, and I think what we've seen is, okay,
Gotta be
so we
realistic.
understand what it's like with like the tough love, right? Like
Hmm.
we've seen back in like our grandparents'
Hmm.
decades where that tough love and not dealing with emotion led to like a mass amount of addiction, mental illness, like all that kind of stuff, abuse, and it kind of trickled down, and now
Generational
it's
trauma, right?
generationally trauma. Yeah, exactly,
Passed on.
passed down. And I think the idea of every generation is to learn what the last generation did and try to like cross correct and like, and then we went, so it was like this generation didn't give a fuck about your feelings, and then we seen what that did, so then we tried to course correct, and then we overdid it with like participation
Yeah.
trophies, where now people think that they should just be awarded millions of dollars for dancing on TikTok. Whatever, people pay the money, I digress. Don't tell me that there's a fucking problem with money when
Yeah.
TikTok people
Millions
are
of
getting paid
dollars.
millions of dollars, and porn stars are getting paid millions of dollars. I don't believe it. Anyways,
Yeah.
other episode, other day. um but damn it, now I lost it because then I was like, oh, what am I going off in the porn industry? I thought I left this topic. Damn it.
No,
Bring me back.
it's all intertwined in the fact that
Oh, yes,
we
sorry. Yes, you're
you
go
got it.
for it.
No, give her
Yeah.
finish it.
Well, just saying that we went too far. We went too far in the other way,
Yeah,
right? So it's like where there's too much emotion and too much like,
we have to get
like
back
for
to
example in the
balance.
yeah, in the corporate world, I feel like now even in the corporate world where it's like business and I know it sucks, it's cutthroat, but that's what makes it work. And that like if you understand that, you can understand corporate and you can get through that. It's business. And then sometimes it's like, oh, you have to be politically correct. It's like, oh, I just want to do business. I don't want to worry,
Yeah.
So there's always got to be a balance. So hopefully, and I think what you're like our generation and parents like you are now being like, yes, we want to acknowledge the emotions, we want to see them, we want to channel them, and we want to move on and build from that. So I
One
think
like
you guys are having
think
that
about it
perfect
too.
blend.
Like back in the day in our grandparents' generation and their parents' generation, men were either raised to help with the family farm, family business. You went to
Go to
war when you
war.
were called.
Yep.
You had
Mm-hmm.
a job at a young age. You didn't
Yep.
always finish school because you couldn't,
Mechanics,
because you
plumber.
needed to get
Nope.
a job to make for your family. And now
Yep.
boys are making money on TikTok or by video game or streaming or like
YouTube.
it's just such a different environment and different like skill set to be like honing
A
in on
successful
and
man.
success.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's very different.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like a lot like our community, the freedom community, and like the just everyone, we're kind of like no, like we're now noticing like we need there's never
We need blue
there's
collar.
never going to be a time where we don't need both. We need both. We
Yes.
need the very
100%.
tech, like nerdy, whatever you want to call it, new age, Gen Z, like making I wouldn't say
Progressive.
content online. That's a lie. We don't need any more of that. But like we need that, but we also need our rugged, physically fit, being able to do all the
Yes.
construction work, all of our roads, all of our
Yes.
buildings, all of
Yes.
our like I'm sorry.
Infrastructure. Yeah.
It is what you don't see the men from Wall Street going to roll up their sleeves and use the jackhammer to finish out the road.
No.
You need
No.
both.
Or
You
go with,
need
or
both.
going to slice a cow
And
open
we
to
need to
provide food for
stop
a family.
preaching the like the toxic I hate that word. I have come to truly
Oh.
it's not toxic masculinity, it's just masculinity. And if you don't like it, then that's your problem and just like
Yes.
don't involve yourself anymore because
Yes.
no
Yes.
masculinity is toxic, and I'm so sick of
No.
teaching people and our new like generations that it's such an ugly
Oh, the
term.
words.
And there's
Yes.
no toxic femininity. I've never heard like it may
No.
be out there, but I haven't heard it come out as hard as that. And let me tell you, being a girl, there's toxic in everything. You can't
Yes.
say toxic
I think it's an
masculinity because there's
individual.
toxic
Yes.
in everything and everyone. Like,
Yes.
give me
Yes,
a
I agree.
break.
And I think that, I think people, especially emotional people, don't always fully see what people do with words and how they use those
It's
words,
used
right?
to
So it's toxic
mentally
isn't related to
control,
a gender. Yeah,
mentally
it's not to a
crush you.
gender. Exactly. It's just it's individual. You know what I mean? Like I don't think this I feel the same way about racism. I don't feel
Yeah.
like one race is inadvertently more racist than the other. I think individuals are racist and to me personally, that's
Mm-hmm.
just what I think. People can disagree, but I think it's the same thing with genders. It has nothing to do with like one gender is more this way or one gender is more or one gender has, you know, necessarily like
Well, like saying women are
there
more
is goods
sensitive
and bads.
than men. Yes, in some cases,
Yeah.
but you can also find a
Yes.
very sensitive man that is much more sensitive than a
Yes.
woman. So
Yes,
it's just,
it's not limited.
yeah,
It's
you will find
experience, I
it in
think, in
all.
your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you hone in as an individual and what your awareness is, right? Like for example, we've talked about this before, like when our spouses go away, when Grant's here, I feel like I can step fully into my feminine and I could be that like, "Hey, can you open this and
Yeah.
can you take this out? Can you do these manly things?" Because then I'll go and do the feminine things, quote unquote, that are traditional. We're cool with that. We're happy with our gender roles. There's no confusion or question there. I don't feel less than if he does something or, if
He
he
doesn't
knows
feel
something
less than
more
if you were to go
and
to
he
mow the
doesn't
lawn or something stupid.
exactly. He would be like, oh, I'll just,
I'll
there's
do the
certain things,
dishes, if,
but
sure.
yeah, exactly. Like, and so, but when he leaves and it's just me,
Mhm.
well, I can't be like, hey, can you take out the garbage? Not saying that that's a man thing, but, that's much easier than organizing and tidying, which my OCD likes to do, like, and I think I just am the same way. I hate when it's toxic masculinity. No, it's just shitty people. It has nothing to do with specific men.
He's
It's
just
just
an
shitty
asshole.
people. Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
you're saying that and you're grouping that. And so, like,
Like,
another thing I want to talk about is like, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like when the very unfortunate situation of like domestic abuse, just because one
Yes,
does it doesn't mean they all do. So you can't call it toxic
I know.
masculinity. That guy was a dick. That guy is a piece of shit who should
Yes,
not have done what he did. But you can't, like, it's just become to a point where, yeah, they're generalizing everything is toxic. Therefore,
everything's
toxic
misogynist.
masculinity is like all men
Yes,
have it. And it's just,
yes. And
it's so
it's so
limited
sad.
and so limiting to
Yes,
think of people in just such shitty ways.
yes. And why can't we just call out the individual and their
And then
behaviors
that's,
as
yeah,
opposed to just saying it's all, you know? Because like you're also doing yourself a disservice, and like if you're like all men are this way, then you're gonna a for one manifestation, man.
yeah.
If that's all you think that men are going to be, that is all that's going to show up in your life. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that you deserve any of those. I'm not saying that. I'm just
Laws of
saying that if
attraction,
you
man. You're
keep
gonna draw it to
it's
yourself, right?
is exactly. And why do I know that? Because I didn't have a good standard for myself, and I always thought, oh, men are just like always cheaters, and so then I always attracted those types of individuals because I didn't have any worth in myself, and that's what I attracted because that's what I settled for, and that's what I kept bringing into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, and this is like different for there's like really abusive men and stuff, but there's female killers. Yeah, no, we did talk that, you know, obviously women are at a more of a
Oh,
physical disadvantage
and the
for
lower
sure. Like,
percentage of them are like do end up being like physical aggressors, but
yes,
that does not mean
absolutely.
that they're
But
not.
no, and it doesn't mean that there's not other ways. So, like, again, of course, there's going to be a little bit more that are men, women, but I
Yeah.
think what I meant to say is like, there's two sides to every coin where it's like there's going to be some places where men are going to be at, you know, at a disadvantage
Mm-hmm.
and where women are going to be at disadvantage. Like, I don't think people really think, but you know, there are good dads out there. There's tons of them, and they go to court, and like majority of the time,
Yeah.
the mothers
Mother
get
win.
uh, uh, they get the custody, they get the win, they get the money,
And in some
and
cases, it should not be that way.
it should not be that way. And we've seen it in our personal lives too, right? And they're, you know, that say the mom's making more money, but the dad still has to pay so much more because it's better to be with the mom, but it's not always the case.
No,
And so, you know, there's a lot of times, you know, where we think that,
they get the
yeah, women
shaft.
have disadvantage, but they had the shaft. Like, and I'm not saying women don't go to war. I'm not saying that, but
Well,
majority
nowadays,
of nowadays it's
they go to
whoever,
war.
you know, but yeah, you know, right, exactly. But that was like for the most part that was the men's role, you know, you didn't get to worry about being
The
enlisted.
second we
That's
decided we want in the workforce,
yeah, we don't want
we
a part of
fucked
that.
ourselves with that hard. And now it's
Exactly,
equal.
right.
So yeah, like that's what,
Hmm.
and like I was saying before, the roles have shifted so much, and like what you're supposed to do, what you're meant to do, like the whole what you should be, like it's all evolved
Yes.
because at one point it was the man went out and worked, the man went out and earned the
Yeah.
money to
Hmm.
provide for the family, the mom stayed home, managed the house, managed the budget in some
Food
cases,
budget,
and
groceries,
the kids and
kids,
everything, and kept the house
the
running.
farm.
And then the second we jumped in, everything changed because now women could hold power over men and could be
Hmm.
CEOs and could be managers
Hmm.
and supervisors. And
Hmm.
I think that's where some of, not all of, but some of the power shift and like the change in, like, I'm not like, not masculinity, but like the change in just men
Hmm.
started because yeah, we
Yes.
not only do they now get to like not quite take a back seat, but like you don't have to earn the entire living. You get to work less,
Yes.
you get to take the lesser job, you get to do something that you would have had to work 10 times harder before to earn what you and your wife can now earn, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes,
it's
there's
just different.
definitely
And
a
there's
huge
stay-at-home
shift in that.
dads, there's, yeah, like
Yeah, that was never a thing, which I
single
think is
dads,
cool.
which like we were saying is not always the case and kind of rare because for some reason, well, I get it and some I don't, but the mom always seems to get the custody in
Custody.
that. But
Yeah. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it
yeah,
doesn't. I think it's a case by case, and they don't take it as much case by
no,
case. It's more just like
a
a, you know,
generalization. They're
a
better off with the mom,
generalization.
but that's not always true.
Yes. No. You know, and there is lots of things that are, you know, I think the biggest one is the whole mental health piece, and how there's just no Like there is now more than ever. I definitely believe that. Like I definitely know that there's been more talk about it, and that's great, and talk is great, but I still feel like now more than ever, like they have more suicides than
You
women.
can
They
bring
have
awareness, but
more
you've got to bring solution
diseases.
too.
Yeah. Like, yeah. And I think too, like, this men being able to set them up successfully too, because once you start also taking the women away from the home too, and where they're meal prepping for the men and getting them ready to go to work to do all those things, and now it's like they're going to work and they're just grabbing whatever they can eat, and
Hmm.
there's no time for that, or no one
That's
can
where all
afford
the
it. Like
processed
that's
quick foods
leading to
come in.
all. Exactly. And and that's doing such a disservice to them too, right? So it's like I don't ever think that being women that are at home, especially if they're raising kids, like especially that is a bad, that's a whole time job. So you're setting your family up to be the healthiest, most successful that you can be. And I'm not saying that people that don't aren't, so don't fucking come for me. What I'm saying is like these like there's a lot of jobs that I don't want to do as a
Hmm.
woman, and I am so grateful that men are out there doing that, and I feel bad for them that we have to live in a world now where both people have to go to work so that we can even just live a life or even enjoy it, and no one has time to fully make these healthy meals and clean the house so everyone feels
Hmm.
safe and like in a nice clean space and the laundry's done and things are there. Like that must have been, again, I'm sure there's hardships, but such a blessed time. And I feel like we don't get that men don't get seen for that as much, like how much that they do take the back seat too in some of those things. And like I'm not going to be like that Pearl, whatever her name is, like I don't think every wife should stay at home and take care, but I'm just saying like I understand the value of
Do
that
you,
because it
I
does
was
set
just
them up for
thinking, do
success.
you remember like
Clearly things.
growing up, like that was not a goal of mine where it was
No.
back in the day. My goal was not to
Yes.
find a husband and like have children and take care of him. Me and my mom were just talking about
Mm-mm.
this. My family was convinced I was not having children. I have had Nick
Yes,
for a
that's
long
fair.
time, which has been fine, but like they were convinced I was not, like that was just, I did not grow up the child that wanted to be a wife and a mother. It just wasn't it,
Yes.
because it wasn't
Yeah.
pushed on us, because we were pushed to be independent, hardworking career
Workers.
women.
Yeah, yeah, so that you could take care of yourself.
And so you can make
And I get that too
everyone
though.
that
Like I get that
profits
too.
off you more
I get
money. We are,
well that, but
they doubled us,
I
right?
get
But
yeah, but I do get
I
where
get
they
it.
come from, in the sense I come from a family of divorce, right? Like my grandparents are divorced, my
Yeah.
parents are divorced, I'm divorced, so I also understand that a lot of women are trapped in their relationships,
Hmm.
especially right now with the price of things, that they feel like they can't leave because there's no way that they're going to be able to afford or go back to work or whatever, and that also makes me equally as
Well, and
sad.
then
So it's
then
like
it really sucks
that's a
that you have
flip
to
side.
depend on a man and you have to find a new man to take care of you. And yeah,
Yes.
I can get that, but
Yes, and
it's
so I get that too.
it's still like, I don't know. Could you imagine being the man where like your whole life all you're supposed to do is provide for someone? Like
Yep.
obviously you're gonna love that person, so like there's a
Yeah.
bonus and benefit to it, but like that's a lot of pressure too. Like
So much
it's you.
pressure.
You are what your whole
Yes.
family is riding on, to eat, to have clothes, to have a house to live in. That is a lot
Yep.
of pressure, and that I couldn't even
Yes.
imagine. Like now obviously, like we've been saying, like we share that, and like we, I make money, Nick makes money, you make money, Grant makes money. Like it's a shared task now, but I think that
Mm.
also is a benefit to the sense that like I think we now have empathy for men and understand like
Yes.
the load
The
of
stress.
having to like, well fuck, like Nick and I are contract. If something happens to both of our jobs, what the fuck do we do? Like we have the risk
Yeah.
of being screwed over hard like at the same time, but we also have
Mm-hmm.
like other like bonuses. But that's the thing, like you
Yes.
have to, it's ebbs and flows. Like if one of you loses,
Together.
yeah, like
Yep.
it's more of a balance now, and we kind of, it's more something that draws us together. So it's all in
It's
how you
teamwork.
work it, I think. Yeah, and how your teamwork is. But I could see
Yes.
how that could also, like that's where you have your own finances and you start spending more money than you should, expecting the other to pick up, and then the other one's doing the same thing
Mm-hmm.
expecting you to pick up, and that's where people like fall apart. And it's just one more thing.
Big fights.
The
Yep.
the biggest and main topic that couples fight about is obviously, I think everyone knows, money
Finances.
and
Yeah,
finances.
totally. Yep.
So like I just,
And that's where the most shame I think people come from, and that's where they
yeah.
start to hide stuff because there is this like expectation, like and I think that has changed a lot over the years, but
Hmm.
still, if that's an internal story and your parents did that and your parents told you that, and then there's comments. And another thing I wanted to bring up too is that I don't know if you notice this, but I feel like men are very much okay more with being bullies to each other and like always picking at each other more than women
I
are.
feel like it's that brotherly competition thing in some cases, but it is also like
For sure.
it can
For
be a
sure.
mean competition thing where it's, yeah, like they are
Yes.
always like this constant, in my
Yes,
opinion.
exactly.
I
And
see
I
that.
don't necessarily always, yeah, and I don't necessarily think, I think it's always, I think it's okay and I think it's great and I think it should be had.
Some of it is
But I think
healthy,
when
but
there's
some of it
no,
is not.
yeah, but I think when there's no awareness though to your mental health
Hmm.
and your own narratives, then it's dangerous because
It can
it's
be
just
damaging. Hmm.
reinforcing that internal thought. So if you're an individual that has no idea of those things and
Hmm.
someone's constantly bugging you and you're like, oh, no big deal, subconsciously it's amplifying that, it's validating your own self-hate talk, right? Which I think is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think men get to talk about that as much, right? Because they don't talk about those insecurities with their guys as much, right? So, where we know what our insecurities
Hmm.
are. So, it's not like we would tease each other about something that we know because
But
we
we're
know.
also
But
so hardwired, so different than boys in the sense that we
yes,
know
this is true.
exactly how it's going to make the other person feel, and the
Exactly.
only reason you're
Yes.
going to do it is to be a huge cunt, because
Yeah,
girls just,
exactly.
you're going to be pushing
It
someone's
can be
buttons,
that way.
because yeah, like boys are competitive in a kind of a healthy egging each other on way, but obviously we all know that
Hmm.
can turn bad quick. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it, competition is healthy, and it really does drive like progression
Leveling up.
and
Yep.
leveling up.
Definitely.
But I
Yep.
think the theme of this episode and the female one is just going to come back to like, we all need to be just more aware of
Hmm.
everyone has a different way of regulating, and everyone is constantly regulating. So like someone may be having a shitty day, someone may be having a good day, some person, like, you never know where someone is, and we just need to start holding space for people more genuinely, and not
Hmm.
doing it just because like it's mental health month or because of this. It should be all the
Yeah.
time. Belle, fucking
Yes.
let's talk. Like, no, it should be all
Not
the
just that
time.
one day,
It should
motherfucker.
be every
Yeah.
day of like, hey, are you
Yes.
okay? Like, I haven't asked you in a
Yeah.
while. You've been working, like, is everything good? Are you holding on to anything that you need to get off your shoulders? Can I help you with anything? Like, we are so
How
far
can I
removed
support
from this.
you?
I wave at everyone at the cabin every time we go all summer. Nick and I are constantly waving, and everyone waves back. I come to the city for 2 days. I drop my daughter off at day home and see some guy walking his dog, and I wave, and he looks at me like, who the hell are you? I don't know you. Don't look at me. And it's just, it's so sad because like we are
Society
just so,
sucks sometimes.
yeah, like we're just so like
Disconnected.
quick to like see everyone as like, yeah, like, when it should be like,
Yeah,
hey neighbor,
offensive.
like, we're
Yeah.
I just, I want to get back to being kind to people, and like the golden rule, do
Yes.
unto others as you would like be done to you. Like,
Yeah,
like
for
I
sure.
just, I feel like we're also like, I keep saying the word, but so disconnected from what like
Hmm.
our balance is.
Hmm.
It's
I totally
sad.
agree. It is. And I think that when you have the more awareness, the more you work on it, the more sometimes you struggle to have patience with other people
Yeah.
through it. And you have to just kind of like remember everyone is where they are. And,
Well,
I
it's
think as
also
long as
the
we can keep
struggling
leading
with
by
people that are
example,
so behind and so like, I don't know, just,
their own problems.
yeah, just the way some people are so, well, everyone's different. That's just always going
Yeah.
to be the problem, is everyone has different opinions, everyone sees things so differently, and it's just very hard for
Different
us as people
experience.
to sometimes accept some of those different views. I posted something
Yes.
today on Instagram that's, we are all about diversity everywhere, everywhere, everywhere,
Hmm.
everywhere, but in thought.
Yeah,
So like,
it's very
we
true. I've
are
seen that.
like, if we don't all think the same thing, it's like chaos, and obviously we've seen
Hive
that over the last
mentality.
few years. Like, it's just insane. So we
Yes.
have to get back to remembering that everyone's an individual. Not everyone copes,
Hmm.
not everyone can deal in the same way, and we can't treat everyone as a we can't blanket treat. We have, like, you have to
Yes.
remember that people,
Can't say men are this
some
way,
men
women are
are
this
a
way.
lot more sensitive and need a little bit more venting, or just an ear to listen, a shoulder to cry
Hmm.
on, go for a beer and just let them vent type thing. Some guys don't always, but when they do,
Hmm.
you should still be there. And
Yes.
it's just crazy that like, I don't know, I've never, like, I wouldn't consider myself a feminist ever in my life.
Mm-mm.
I was definitely pro woman and pro female, but
Yeah,
I've never been
absolutely.
a hairy armpit
They
feminist, as
deserve
they would
more.
say.
Yeah.
But
I like to shave for
I
myself, thank
yeah,
you.
I've been a tomboy my entire life. I've always loved guys. Guys are cool. Guys get to be rough and tumble. You get to ride dirt bikes and climb mountains. Not that women can't, but you know what I mean? Like that's what you grew up
You
like
can
boys
joke
get to like yeah,
around.
like get dirty and climb trees and like you get to make better
Yes.
jokes with boys. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I have a lot of girlfriends who have wicked sense of humors, but there's a lot of people in this world that do not. And you can
No,
just joke with
100%.
boys a lot better than you can with
Yeah,
girls
they
and
can
like
take it for sure.
I
There's a
just feel like
bonus.
a lot of people like I know people do appreciate men. You'd be stupid to think they don't, but I feel like there needs to be more of a focus on like just making
Yes.
sure that they're
Appreciation.
yeah, that they know like I try and tell Nick all the time like I hope you know we love you and like we are grateful for
Yes.
you and like
Appreciate you. Yes.
you
Thanks for all your
are
hard work.
our world and like you know she loves you. She daddy's home was her first sentence. Like there's purpose in what you do even though some days you get frustrated and don't want to work and don't
Hmm.
want to adult like all of us,
Yeah.
but we've definitely
Yeah.
got to learn to hold more space for our men and stop telling them that they're toxic every fucking day
Yes.
for
And
having
that they're terrible
opinions that you
people.
don't necessarily like. Well, that's their opinion and
They
move
get to
on.
have it.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, and also let's go back to that, like, especially dads and not even dads. Like Grant doesn't like to be away from home, but those are the sacrifices that they have to make to
That's another
and
like
maybe some men do. Maybe some men want to escape their family and they want to go away, but most of them don't. They're doing
having
that
a
to
family and having
provide their
kids
family with a better life.
shouldn't be a like a factor or a filter or a layer of the way you treat
Mm-mm.
someone. I'm so sick of that. We've talked about that before
Mm.
with tons of my friends where parents or people that have kids or people like they just get treated differently. That people who smoke, you get 15 minutes every hour to go
Yeah.
and do nothing. I used to hate that. I
Yeah.
was in an
I used
office
to
where
hate
there's
it too.
tons of guys and they'd all go for a smoke at the same time for like 30 minutes and it was every
Yeah.
hour if not every 2 hours and it's like dude, you get like
Yes.
3
Every
hours of
hour.
break a day where I get
Yeah.
15 minutes, 30 minutes and another
Yes.
15 minutes. Like you guys are
Fuck
like
your
you
cigarettes.
just people you can't treat people I forget where I was going with that. I fucking hate
That's
this.
good though, but it I see you the same. It's not just me.
I hate
But
this
no, I think
brain. It's
I did
contagious.
sometimes it's good. It's contagious. Sorry. But I think too, like again, it's like let's play devil's advocate, right? So like I came to this awareness through this relationship because we were very open and we talked about a lot of things because of
Hmm.
our past and we didn't want to be the same. And it really opened my eyes to like I don't know what they're thinking and I make a lot up in my own head. So the best way is to communicate that out loud. And
Just start
I think,
asking.
like you said, checking in. Yeah, check in with your spouse. Like it is a lot of pressure for them on both sides. But
Hmm.
a lot of the times I think too, it's like leading by example, I think is a great way of doing it by being like, hey, how you feeling? Can I support you? Is there anywhere in your life that you're stressed out,
Yeah.
like or just being aware of like your spouse's cues, like when they're heightened about something, then like be like, hey, is everything okay? And I think it's so easy just to go through our day to day, just surviving our lives and just trying our best
And
that I
trying to
think
keep
sometimes we do
yourself
forget to
afloat
be.
that you forget that there's
Yes,
other
we
people
forget to be a
drowning right next to
spouse.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that they could be doing a really good job because they see you fucking drowning and they don't want to put it on you. And men are protectors. Their job is to
Take
do
the
that. So they don't
mask
want to put
off
that on you.
and be
Yeah,
honest, right?
forever.
Yeah.
Never wear a fucking mask ever again. No, just
Take
kidding.
it
Take it off, Karen. Or Carrie, because she can't carry on. That's what it is. Carrie is a new Karen because she can't carry the fuck on. Good.
I love it.
Sorry, any Carries out there. But no, I just like, I just let I think for us, we just want to be like play devil's advocate always. Don't just think because it's a man that they don't experience that because that's not true. They go through body dysmorphia
Yeah.
and face dysmorphia. They lose their hair. They go gray. Their
Hair isn't
faces start
just
to
important
change.
for
They
women, it
age.
is for men. Skin
No,
isn't just important for
huge.
women, it is for
No.
men.
Yes,
They like simple
bodies
things
like
too. Yeah, like body
yes, body
composition changes
image,
over years and
composition.
yeah, like
Yeah, they struggle with that.
there's a lot yeah, secretly a lot of men struggle silently with what they look like just
Yeah.
as much like we he's going to kill me. He doesn't I know he doesn't listen. I love him, but I know he doesn't.
No, doesn't
We
Grant.
were at
That's
the
okay.
beach the
It's
other
good.
day and we were surrounded by people and a few over there was like a huge family with a bunch of dudes shirtless partying on the beach, tons of kids, women, same to the other side and whatever, and I'm walking around in my bathing suit obviously eyeing up like all my body competition in the women, like, okay,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
as we do, like,
Okay.
okay,
Where I
okay.
am. Yeah.
And
Where
then
am I?
Nick
Yeah.
is just a few minutes in, kind of, he's like, do I look fat? I was like, no, you don't look fat. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, you've got like what every woman desires. You got like full on like rockin' dad bod. You got like sexy man bod. And I was gassing him up. We were just giggling, but just
I love you so
remember that
much.
men have those
Yes.
moments of like, do I look like, are my arms big enough? Is my chest
They
full
size
enough?
up all the
Yeah,
time.
like they do.
All the time. In
Women,
all ways.
we
In
are the
all
worst. I
ways.
will say we are 10
We are
times
the
worse, and we
worst.
will
We care
compare
way too much.
way like her pores are smaller than mine. Like we are just
Yeah.
detail disgusting. But boys, although they're not quite
They
as
still
like
have it.
pore concerned, they're still concerned. They still have it,
Yes.
and
And I
yeah,
think it's
checking in every now
good.
and then and asking how's it
Compliment.
going. Yeah, like pinch their bum,
Yeah.
tell them they're
Your
cute.
butt looks good. Yeah. I like your face today.
Yeah,
You know,
looking
I like the
good.
yeah, I like the
What you
way your
doing
face is put
later?
together. Yeah, I'm not good at hitting on
The
them, but
symmetry,
it's
I'm
funny and we
telling
laugh.
ya.
Yeah. I like the way your nose is or
Woohoo!
dope earlobes, bro.
Dope
That's off
earlobes,
that's
bro.
off New Girl. That's off New Girl. I didn't
No.
take that, but
Oh
okay,
shit.
good. But you know, like I think it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, whoever, whatever relationship you're in, it's like, and your friends, you know, check in on them. And I'm not
That's
saying that
another
you
one.
have to be invasive
Friends.
and say emotions, but being like, hey, just wanting to know that I'm here if you need me,
Yeah.
checking in. It's been a while, you know, like, and sometimes people just need to know that you're there. And I think that's the biggest thing for men is just opening up the door and being
I
like,
feel like more
hey,
men
I'm
need to get
here
back to
and you're
that.
valid.
There's a lot of guys who have
Yeah.
guy friends who are very comfortable doing that, but I feel like it's also stigma
Yes.
now that you're not allowed to have
Mm-mm.
those feelings, so you're not allowed to ask about
Mm-mm.
it.
You're
But
pussy.
if you
No.
were to with friends and you guys were to check in on each other and have true brotherhood and true friendship where you
Yeah.
give a shit about each other's
Yeah.
feelings, not just in,
Yes.
oh, I'm not going to make that stupid joke because I know that would hurt his feelings. Like actually being like, hey man,
No.
how's
Yeah.
it going?
Haven't heard from you in a while.
How's your
Yeah. What's
family?
up?
What's going on?
Do you want to go for a
Like
drink?
a
Want to go
genuine
chat? Need
talk
to
and
chat?
not just like the light fluffy drama talk. Like
Yes.
you'd be surprised at how like
Well, that would
if
be
you
received.
nurture those friendships, yeah, like
Yeah.
how nice that can feel and how tight, like
Mm.
closer, and like not every man is looking to become great dude friends with dudes, but who the
It's
fuck
just nice to
cares?
know who's there.
Get that
Yeah.
chip off your shoulder and go fucking yeah, be friends.
Talk to
Ask someone
someone.
how the fuck they're doing
Yeah.
and don't be so selfish.
Yeah, and like I think a big thing too is getting excited for people and all their wins too, right? Like really celebrating the wins with
That's
individuals and you know having those moments
that's
together
going
and
to be a
being
big
like,
one we talk
hey,
about in the girls because I
yeah,
feel like men are not bad. It's more of just an unspoken thing. We are terrible for supporting
yes,
people's
we're
wins.
terrible.
Holy fuck, if
Yes,
another girl
yes.
gets something, it's like, well, good for you.
Why?
Oh my god, did you
Yeah.
hear that? Like the bitch fucking okay, like we're the worst. I'm sorry, but
We
we
are the
are.
worst. No, we
But
are.
we
We
need
are
to
the
start
worst.
like that's the one thing of our like foursome that I love so much is every time something good happens, we can have a little brag moment, and the three others are gonna be
Yes.
like, bitch, yes, like
Yay.
fuck
Yes.
yeah, you deserve that. Absolutely.
Live
Like
in it.
we are gonna like
Yeah.
totally like
Hype it up.
flamboyant it up and be like, yes,
Yes.
queen, get
Congrats.
it. Like we are our
Glitter.
biggest like fans, and
Cheerleaders.
we need
Yes.
to start doing that with people in everyday life, like all the time.
Yep.
We just got new
Yeah.
neighbors next door, and Nick and I are like, should we go over and be like proper neighbors? Because we lived here 10 years. We know the one neighbor, and we haven't talked to a single other one. So, like, are we going to have to
Yes.
be like those neighbors now? It's like, hey,
Yes.
neighbor, how's it
Yes.
going?
We're the same. We
Here's
just
a
started
care
to like our
package with some
neighbors. Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah.
Love
And here's
us.
yes, definitely.
Goodbye. Like,
Don't
but
say anything about our chickens. Bye.
shh. Don't worry. Free eggs. Free eggs.
These yeah, these aren't from the
Oh my
store.
god. But you know
Yeah,
what I
I'll buy
mean?
your
Like,
silence.
just start being
Yes.
man, woman, child. Be kind to people. Be generous,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just remember that. Yeah, like you have bad days. Everyone has bad days. So just always
Yeah.
be conscious and I, I it's such a like contradicting because like you don't want to be a soft sad sappy sucker all the time,
But you
but
don't
you
have to
gotta
be. Just be like,
have
hey,
the
what's up?
balance of yeah, you can be a hard ass, but when it comes down to it in the
Yeah.
moment and when you have that feeling in your gut that you should be, you have to pull out the hey man, do you need to talk about
What's up?
something? Are you all right? Like yeah,
Yeah.
what's going on? It's not there's no
Yeah,
shame in it, and I
absolutely.
think the shame around and the stigma around, like we've said, men's almost everything, but mainly mental health and focus on just like
Yes.
mental well-being is
Yeah.
we are not doing it. It is not the
No.
tea, sis. We are
No.
failing our men miserably. And it all ties into all of our conspiracy stuff because
Mm-hmm.
they've been attacking the masculinity, because as soon as you crack that
Yes.
and you crack the family, take everyone apart, then
Mm.
you weaken
And who are there to
civilization.
defend?
Who, yeah,
Yes.
when it comes down to it, when heaven forbid, and I'm knocking on literal wood, if WW3
War
comes
broke out.
around,
Mm-hmm.
something serious, who the fuck are you getting to have out there? The skinny jeans? We're
Yeah,
relying on the
exactly.
skinny
On the TikTok
jeans?
dancers? Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
I agree.
sorry.
But that's the
Like, we
thing though.
need to have our
And
balance. And there are,
there's
like,
a difference too
I've heard
between
recruiting for the army. I don't know where it was. I think it might have been the States. I don't know if it was Canada. Actually, it might have been Canada.
probably
Is
Canada,
that
yeah.
like an all-time low, 35% like drop from
Hmm.
last year? Because who needs to be in the military? You can be a fucking TikTok star. You can be a YouTube star.
Hmm.
You can be anything you want to
And I
be,
don't
really.
think
But like the options
I
as
don't
of
think
late are
war
trashy.
and I think too, like war isn't I just don't think war is as prominent as like I know it is, but I don't think it's a prominent fear as it used to be, right?
No,
So
and
it's
I
like
don't wish that it happens, but I'm just saying if the
no,
extreme comes, or
100%.
if we need someone just in general to defend, even now, to defend our freedoms, to defend our honor,
Oh
weak,
yeah.
sad people, not just men, weak, sad
Yes.
people are not it. That's not
Yes.
it.
No.
Our women and
No.
our
No,
men
I
need to,
agree.
we need to start fortifying here as well as here. Like, we need to start
Yes.
shaping up, because they're trying to weaken us all, and men have taken it hard. They've said even what 50, like since the 50s, our the sperm count in our men has dropped like more
Yeah,
than
it's gone way down.
50%
Yeah.
and
And no, sorry, I
stuff.
just mean like back then, like when
Ouch.
like our grandparents and even to our parents, like
Oh
the
yeah.
the thought of war, like that was definitely more prominent. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
amped
Yeah.
people up all the
That
time
was more
because
of
it
a
was like
motivator and a driver to, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but because all the wars that are happening now are
Hell,
done, in very different ways. It's like
I would say,
it's
but you
just
can't
showing
say
a
it's not a
different.
threat, because how, like, Putin with the
Oh,
fucking nukes and like all this weird
yeah.
shit, and then North Korea there for a few years with the threats there. Like, we've had threats, but I don't think we are there. We feel like they're false threats, and they were, thank
Yes.
Jesus Christ, but they're false
Yes.
threats. We've never had the follow through. Our family,
No.
our
We've
ancestors
been very
had the
blessed.
follow through. They knew
Exactly.
the fear, so yeah, that was a
Yeah.
driver.
There
Whereas
was a huge
us,
motivator.
I pray to God
We don't have that
my
as much.
generation, Evie's generation, and her kids' generation never see a war. I really hope to God that wars are
Same.
done. The new wars that we're
Yeah.
fighting right now, the spiritual, mental, psychological, information, all that,
Yes. Yes.
is one thing. And yes, so technically we're in the middle of a war, but it's very different.
Yeah.
But like,
And
I
there's
just
wars
hope
with other parts of the
I
world,
those will
but
evolve,
the
but like,
western
I hope
side.
physical
Yes.
wars are done. Oh my God, do I
Yeah.
hope they're done.
On this side.
The
Yes.
amount of men
And
that
it
we've
too
sacrificed for like the shittiest
for all that.
causes. I'm sorry, and some of them were just the
No.
shittiest of reasons. It's
Yeah.
sad. It is sad.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
And
Yes, war is not as prevalent these days.
yeah, but I also, in the same fact, is like a lot's been feminized, and we've seen that through tons of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's birth control through the water, whether that's through the food, whether that's through
Entertainment
the
industry.
hormone and the entertainment industry, the endocrine disruptors, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's whatever, it's all contributing to all the same thing, and like you
They
said,
come
loops
at
into
us
all the
from every
conspiracies.
single angle. Every bit of it is
Yes.
looped, because they come at you from every spot they can to
Yeah.
make sure you are weak.
Dismember.
They're doing this on purpose. They're going to make sure it's done right. They're not just going to
Yeah.
half-ass try and weaken you. They want you weak. They're
No.
going to make you weak.
And then
So,
too, they criminalize and turn everything that's like gonna progress you in those ways as toxic masculinity,
yeah.
like going to the gym. And I do think that there is,
Caring
like, for
about
the fitness
yourself. How
industry,
toxic.
yeah, but there is, I agree, but then
Yep.
there's on the other side where there's a big part of the fitness industry is fucking ruined that, because there has been a lot of people that have taken it to the extreme and made it like not toxic but
You're going to have the
unhealthy
dark and the light
in
and
that
everything,
healthy.
right? So
Absolutely.
that's for
But they
sure.
grab onto that
Mm-hmm.
and then they're just like, see, being a being
being a gym
gym
rat
member. What
is
were they
a
saying? Is an extremist, right wing extremist or some
yeah,
shit or
you're
conspiracy? Remember
you're
that?
right
Right wing
wing
misogynist.
extremist if you go to the gym.
I mean,
But
I am, so
it's
fine. Just
true,
kidding.
like
No,
you
it's fine
you
then
can't
if
really
that's what
do
it is.
anything for yourself or
Without being
self
radical.
sustaining without being radical, or like even that new movie is QAnon adjacent, that human trafficking movie, Sound of
Yeah.
Freedom. Like
Yes.
you can't do anything that
Oh, I see what you're saying.
remotely is
Yes.
close or linked to that, to like a shitty like that
It
movement,
just
without it
blows right
being
up.
like, oh, you're right wing conspiracy
Yeah.
theorist. Like,
Oh, so it's just
because I
like,
go to the
okay.
gym and I have a garden, I am a right
Yeah,
wing
no doubt.
conspiracy theorist.
You're like,
Because
okay,
I want
that's
to eat
fine.
eggs that I know where they come from. Are you kidding
Yes, no
me?
doubt.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
sure. I guess that's the way it
and
is
and
then.
I exactly, then label me that. I don't give a shit then. But yeah, I just would like to challenge everybody that
Yeah.
is listening, especially our female friends in there. I love y'all. We'll talk about the shit that we have to
Our
go through
struggles next.
next. But guys, like, let's remember, they go to jail more, they're more likely to commit suicide, they have way more mental health issues than women do. You can look up the stats, it's there. They end up having far more cancer and diseases because of, like we said, the lifestyles that they have to run while they're working, unhealthy, trying to
Hmm.
support family, not dealing with their mental health, unable to express themselves. And we know when that trauma is in the body and it's stored, it turns
Hmm.
into diseases and they have nowhere to outlet it. Again, this isn't taking away from women, this focus is on men. So please check in with them, your brothers, your spouses, your friends, your fathers, your relatives. Are you okay? Do you need support? Like, and have some understanding that maybe they're holding on to stuff to protect you. And maybe have you given them a safe space to talk to
Hmm.
and said, hey, like, I'm here to talk about it, because maybe have you reacted poorly to some of their shit? I know I did. I know I had to be like, well, I did not create a safe space for
Yeah.
him to talk to me about this. So I cannot be mad about not having these conversations, because anytime that was brought up, I was a
It
total
can be
cunt.
really
So
hard, but
I
yeah,
have
we've
to
got to
take, yeah,
do
you
our
have to
best.
self reflect. Yeah. And be there together and talk about your love languages, and, ensure that, the form of communication is there. And I said this before, I think the biggest thing is, like, you don't have to know. There's one simple sentence: how can I support you?
Hmm.
How can I support you right now? Then that person should be able to tell you, right?
I'd also like to point out that there's nothing wrong with either the man or the woman in the relationship, or both of you preferably, worshiping the other. I don't get
Mm-hmm.
why now, if you love your
Yes, I
girlfriend and want to spend
agree.
time with her, you're pussy whipped. If you take care of your man and all that, you're
Yes,
so old fashioned. You know what? When you find that person, you realize, I
you
don't
get
like
it.
it. You just want to, and it becomes so second
Yeah,
nature that, like,
yes.
you get it, and
You want to
that
set them
needs
up
to
for
be
success.
that needs
Why
to
is
be
that a bad thing?
discussed more. Like, we need to
Yes.
start hyping up our own relationships and being proud in our own relationships, instead of all this, like, I don't know.
Not
It's just
enough.
always
Lacking.
scandal. It's also always there's always
Yes.
it's never the positive, which I'm guilty
No.
of. I don't always gush when Nick does something cute or like
Yeah.
whatever, but that's fair. But we need to
Yeah.
start, yeah, like
Yeah. Celebrating.
hyping each
Celebrating
other
our
up.
men, the things
You
that they
should be
do.
your
Yeah.
partner's biggest fan. You're together for a
Yeah.
reason, right? Like, you should be their
Yes.
biggest cheerleader in all.
Yes.
But you should
Yeah.
also
And
be
you don't
their
just have to
biggest,
be
like,
social media too, right? Like, just in real life,
yeah, yeah.
right?
The amount of times, the things I post for like birthdays for like my brothers, my parents, my mom, Mother's Day, that stuff is for the Instagram show. I
Yeah.
that is not what I send them. I send them a text message or a phone call
Happy
personally,
fucking day. Yeah.
because yeah, like,
Seriously.
it is not just for the gram. We need to
Yes.
get away from that. You just need to learn to love your spouse in everyday life, and that's men too. Men
Yeah.
need to start
Yes.
worshiping the ground we walk on, as we need to worship the ground
Yes.
they walk on, because we both
Kings
contribute
and
a lot,
queens.
and we both run this thing called our life, and we,
Yes. And
like,
our kingdom.
you should appreciate each other. There's no
Yeah.
better way and no better reward for, hey, we built this whole cool life that we've envisioned. Let's love each
Yes.
other.
Together.
Not let's fucking
Yeah.
kill each other and fight and
Yes.
be resentful. And
Yes.
I hate when it
No.
ends like that. But yeah, just there's nothing wrong with being obsessed with your partner. And I just
No.
I wish it's coming back to it, and there are people that are, but I just I don't know.
Wish we had more of that.
Yeah, it's
And
just
I think there's a beautiful like circle to it, right? Like you have to have grace and empathy and understanding for the other person's individual journey, while also trying to motivate them, inspire them, and lightly push them in a way to have a better life, but also being that safe space where they can come to, because everyone is going to be where they're at, and you just have to, like I said, have some grace, but also have
the balance,
inspiration.
right?
And yeah, and also lead by example, like we expect so much from the other person. Are we self-reflecting and showing up in that manner, in the way that
Exactly.
they need, whether how they're loved or not, right? And are you putting in the work? Are you
Are you
making sure
taking
that
your own
you're
advice type thing?
yeah, exactly. And are you being there in a safe space and an empathetic partner? Also, while not taking shit, right? There's got to be always that balance. And I think ladies, like, we need to do better. Like you said, we need to celebrate our men. We need to have more understanding. At the same sense, there's some of them that it's like, hey, bitch, stop being so fucking sensitive.
Yep.
Like, be a man. And there's nothing wrong with being an alpha man. There's nothing wrong with being a manly man. I think the problem is, though, you just have to make sure that you're channeling your feminine in the correct way and not holding it in your body and your emotions and making it manifest in asshole ways that aren't good for you, whether that's through an addiction or a behavior or something like that. So guys, like, we hear you, see you. You have to do your job by talking, and women, we need to open up our spaces so that they feel good to do so. But again, it's got to be a balance, and that's what we think. I don't know, this is pretty good. I think we got it
shout
all
out
right?
to the feminine men too. You're all are seen as well, because truly,
best.
like,
Yes,
where else are we
absolutely.
going to get our fashion tips from? I'm sorry, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
Y'all are fancy, stylish, and we need to hold space for all men and just realize that all men are. It's not one cookie cutter. It is millions of cookie cutters that these men are made from. So yeah,
and there's
have some
nothing wrong with
respect
any of them.
and just check in. Get to know your men.
Yeah, check in. Love your men. We love you. We love the men. That makes us sound like whores, but no, like we're not.
Like
we're
I
not,
said,
we're not
I
in
love
space
me
where
some
we need
men.
feminism.
Love me some dudes.
We do.
Love guys.
Yeah,
guys
just
are
be
great.
Good. Continue being good guys. Continue being, standing up and being there for your family and doing what's right for your family and what's for you. And don't worry about what other Pinterest ads are doing or what boat they bought or what house they bought, or, just make sure you're present there for your family and the rest will all happen. But anyways, guys, almost like second to last, like third episode. We're almost done. We got a couple more left, but as always, guys, follow us everywhere. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Until next time, bye. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the show today. We truly hope that you had a good time. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our channels, like our episodes, and turn on those notification bells. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Until next time, guys.